everyone. Happy Friday. I just wanted to make a video on Deuteronomy this fine Friday. This is the last of the 5 books of the Old Testament. Okay, the next book we're going to do is Joshua, and then they go in a bit different direction. So let me start off with the 12 signs. The first sign I talk about is Aquarius, which is represented by the man. Now, technically, Aries begins the year, but I start in Aquarius because that's kind of the beginning of our year. It goes back to the story of Zeus and the young boy I've gone over many times. So whenever you hear the word son of man, man, baptism, water pitcher, fountain, stream, river, pond, lake, sea, lake, ocean, sea, you're talking about Aquarius. Pisces is the sign of the 2 fish in the water, so all the water examples still hold true here. Aries is the ram, and in Aries you have March 21st, which is the spring equinox. It's a 12-hour day, a 12-hour night. It's also the Passover, or the passing over of the sun over the equator and back on its way to its height in the summer solstice. In Christianity, the passing over is changed, and it's called the resurrection of God's son. In Judaism, the Jewish Passover is when the angel of death passes over all the houses that don't have the lamb or the ram. Aries, the ram. Jews are the people of Aries. That's how it identified them. The ram's blood over the doorpost. That's how you knew they were Jews. They were safe. Everyone else lost their firstborn sons. So whenever you hear ram, lamb, shepherd, or ram's horn, that's Aries. Taurus is the bull. And when you look at the sky and you see Taurus during the season where it's supposed to be, you know that you need to put the plow on the bull so that you can plant the seed so you can harvest in Virgo and Libra. So whenever you hear bull, ox, calf, or cow being the female bull, they're talking about Taurus. Gemini is the twins. It's the story of Castor and Pollux Troy, whose sister was Helen of Troy. It's the story of Achilles. So whenever you hear twins or brothers, they're talking about Gemini. Cancer is the crab, and it's the sideways moving creature. So just as the sun rises a degree on its axis starting on December 25th, and then each consecutive day an additional degree, it stops on June 21st. Then for 3 days, it doesn't rise higher, it doesn't rise lower, it stays at that exact height, hence walking sideways for 3 days. Then on June 25th, it lowers a degree. The crab in the ancient Egyptian time was known as the scarab. So whenever you hear crab or beetle, you're talking about Cancer. Leo is the king. He's the lion. He's the king of the jungle. The ruling planet of Leo is actually the sun. So whenever you're talking about lion, lioness, or cub, you're talking about Leo. Virgo is the woman holding the wheat stalk. Remember before when we were saying that you plant in Taurus? Well, the virgins would cultivate the wheat in Virgo in order to make the bread for the year. So whenever you hear virgin, wheat, grain, seed, barley, corn, grainy things that you harvest, that's all done in Virgo. Libra is the justice. It's the scales, it's the balance, it's the just one. The reason it's the justice is because it judges God's sun as it passes over the fall equinox and begins its descent into winter, into cold, into death. Libra is also wine season, which is when you plant for the grapes in Taurus, you compress the wine here. So it's all law-related stuff. Law, judge, justice, the just one, divorce, marriage, court, lawyer. It's all wine-related stuff. Wine, vineyard, wine press, grapes. In this particular scripture in Deuteronomy, wine is referred to as the blood of the grape. So all wine-related things, all olive-related things. Olive oil, that's Libra too. Scorpio is the scorpion. He's the betrayer. When a scorpion bites you, it leaves an imprint in your skin that looks like 2 lips. It's why the mafia has a kiss of death. And it's why Jesus was betrayed by Judas with a kiss. So the sun is judged in Libra, right? It's betrayed in Scorpio. And then finally in Sagittarius, this is where the bow and the arrow shoot the sun and inflict further punishment on the sun. This is where the sun dies. Why? Because on December 21st, the sun is at its lowest point. It cannot rise any lower. It was considered dead. It's the dead of winter. And it remained at that lowest level for 3 days. Just like it walked sideways in Cancer, it walked sideways here too. So suddenly God's sun remained dead for 3 days. When on December 25th, or the birth of God's son, it rises another degree and starts to make its way back up top. So whenever you hear horse, bow and arrow, spear, or horseman, you're talking about Sagittarius. And then finally we come to the goat, Capricorn, because he likes to climb the mountain. Now, if you look at the zodiac wheel on the right, Capricorn's at the bottom, Cancer's at the top. If you start to climb, going to the left all the way back to June 21st in Cancer, you start to climb in Capricorn. It starts to climb up the mountain. So that being the 12 signs, let's just go right into it. 4:18. We're like any creature that moves along the ground or any fish in the waters below. And when you look up to the sky and you see the sun, the moon, and the stars, all the heavenly array, Do not be enticed into bowing down to them and worshiping things the Lord your God has appointed to all the nations under heaven. Yeah, so you're not supposed to worship it. It's not it. What I do is it's not about worshiping it. It's about seeing the patterns. It's about understanding what they're talking about. So when they give you clues like this, when they tell you see the sun and the moon and the stars and the heavenly array, they're telling you to take a closer look at it. They say don't worship it because these aren't things. These aren't things to be worshipped. Even though history has completely shown a different side, with Saturnalia worship, Saturn, Satan, that whole thing. So yeah, acknowledge and take to heart this day that the Lord is God in heaven above and on the earth below. There is no other. This is a mention of as above, so below. Lays an example right here. But the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you, nor your son or daughter, nor your male or female servant, nor your ox or donkey. So the son and daughter, male and female, is Aquarius the man and Virgo the woman. They're the opposing signs at the firmaments, okay? Just so anybody who's new, the dividing lines between the signs that you can see right here are called firmaments, okay? It's called the firmament. The firmament is not a dome over a flat earth. That's not what it is. What it is just the dividing lines between signs. They don't really exist, but what it represents is a 3-day period where one sign hands off the energy to another. You've heard people refer to themselves as cusps. You've heard them referred to as handover dates. When someone says they're a cusp, it means they're within 3 days of another sign where the energies blend in. So that's what that is, okay? So opposing signs at their firmaments. Aquarius and Virgo. The ox is Taurus, the donkey is Acellus Borealis, which is located in Cancer. Hear Israel and be careful to obey so that it may go well with you and that you may increase greatly in a land flowing with milk and honey. There's a group of stars in Cancer called the Beehive Cluster. That's the honey, and the milk comes from the Milky Way galaxy, which centers in Sagittarius. Cancer has the summer solstice, and Sagittarius has the winter solstice. This is 2 of 4 of the major points of the zodiac, and it's also known as the land of milk and honey. Houses filled with all kinds of good things you did not provide, wells you did not dig, and vineyards and olive groves you did not plant. They often pair the vineyard or the wine with the olives or the oil. They both come from Libra. You're going to see that repeatedly, okay, throughout the entirety of the Bible. The Lord your God has chosen you out of all the people on the face of the earth to be his people, his treasured possession. So I have a problem with this scripture. To say that one group of people supersedes another group of people is just the arrogance of the Old Testament writers who had reasons to push the Jews during the age of Aries. They were the people of Aries, okay? So that's why they were the chosen people. He will bless the fruit of your womb, the crops of your land, your grain, new wine and olive oil, the calves of your herds, the lambs of your flock, in a land that he swore to your ancestors to give you. The grain is Virgo, the wine and the oil, just mentioned previously, how they're always connected, are Libra. Virgo and Libra are connecting signs. The calves are Taurus and the lambs are Aries. Those also are connecting signs. In fact, Aries and Libra are also opposing signs. So there's many patterns being made in this particular passage. For the Lord your God is bringing you into a good land, a land with brooks, streams, and deep springs gushing out into the valleys and hills, a land where wheat and barley, vines and fig trees, pomegranates, olive oil and honey, a land where bread will not be scarce and you will lack nothing. All water examples are Pisces. The wheat is Virgo, the barley is Virgo. Pisces and Virgo are opposing signs. So it's for an example, like in the book of Matthew, when they talk about Jesus feeding the masses with 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. Well, the bread is Virgo, the lady with the wheat stalk, and the fish is Pisces. Those are opposing signs. That's why he feeds with those 2. Okay, that's why he also feeds the masses with 2 fish. Now, the vines and olive oil are Libra. Those are connecting signs. The honey from Cancer is the beehive cluster. The bread is Virgo. Libra is the fall equinox. Cancer is the summer solstice. 2 out of 4 major points on the zodiac. And the 4 major points, let me go back. The 4 major points that I'm talking about are the 2 solstices and the 2 equinoxes. Okay? You have Aries, that starts the year. That's the spring equinox. Summer solstice in Cancer. Fall equinox in Libra. Winter solstice in Sagittarius, the last day of Sagittarius, incidentally. He led you through the vast and dreadful wilderness. that thirsty and waterless land with its venomous snakes and scorpions. Here we go. So the snakes are Ophiuchus, which is known as the serpent bearer. I know you can't see me right now, but it's a man holding up a basket, holding up a snake. Okay, that's the serpent. And its connecting sign is Scorpio, the scorpion. Now this is being used to show an example of sidereal or Vedic astrology. Okay, adding the 13th sign Ophiuchus, because Ophiuchus is not recognized as a sign or as a major or as one of the 12 signs or one of the major signs in the Zodiac in tropical astrology, which is what really good astrologers use, which is what I use to decode. I use tropical, I don't use sidereal. There's people that swear by it too. Honestly, there's plenty of groups on Facebook, for example, that talk about sidereal astrology. The problem with sidereal astrology is that when you add this 13th sign, it throws everything off. So my connection, that is the cross of the two solstices in this 2 equinox, that gets thrown off. All the days get thrown off. Suddenly Scorpio's only 6 days long. Suddenly Virgo's only a month and a half long. It throws the days off and it messes everything up, and you end up not being in your sign, and it doesn't work that way. They actually tried to push this on civilization like 5 to 10 years ago. They tried to make Ophiuchus a big coming up, and everyone rejected it. I don't know if everyone knew why it was such a good idea to reject it, but it was. Then I came back down the mountain and put the tablets in the ark I had made as the Lord commanded me, and they are there now. So I put a couple notes here: Church in Ethiopia, Complete Bible, Attack on Church, New Year's Eve. The church in Ethiopia, there's a church in Ethiopia that supposedly has the Ark of the Covenant. They've been protecting it. In fact, a story came out a couple of years back where something like 75 or 80 people tried to rush the church in order to get to this, and they were all just mowed down, all of them. They all died, and then the story just disappeared. Supposedly the Ark of the Covenant, if there is one, is in a church in Ethiopia. They also have a complete Bible, the Ethiopians. They have the Book of Enoch. They really look at that book. They have a ton of other books that have been removed from our catalog. So I mentioned the attack on the church. The interesting thing about the Ethiopians is they have 13 months. Now the Jews every 4 years have 13 months. They have a leap month instead of a leap day. The Jews do. But the Ethiopians believe that the New Year's Day is on September 11th, okay, which is strange coincidence for us, okay, and yeah, they believe in that, and they have 13 months, okay, they have 12 months of 30 days and 1 month of 5 days. What he did to the Egyptian army, to its horses and chariots, how he overwhelmed them with the waters of the Red Sea. Water would be Aquarius or Pisces. There's no real way to tell in this particular one. However, the horses refer to Sagittarius. Well, what's special about Sagittarius? It's the day of death, December 25th. Whenever I do the decodings, I tell you guys, horseman, spear, bow and arrow, horseman. These are words for Sagittarius, but the death, when they talk about the death, it's also referencing Sagittarius, because in the sun dies in Sagittarius. Okay, December 21st, the last day of Sagittarius. So no one's talking about the horses here, but they talk about, not only are they talking about the horses here, but they talk about them all dying, hence the death. Then I will send rain on your land and its season, both autumn and spring rains, so that you may gather in your grain, new wine and olive oil. I will provide grass in the fields for your cattle, and you will eat and be satisfied. So the spring rains happen in Taurus. That's April showers bring May flowers. Everyone knows that. The autumn is Libra. The grain is Virgo, and the wine and olive oil paired together again are Libra, connecting signs. The cattle is Taurus as well, just like the spring rains. Nevertheless, you may slaughter your animals in any way, in any of your towns, and eat as much of the meat as you want, as if it were gazelle or deer, according to the blessing the Lord your God gives you. The deer is a constellation called Mriga, meaning deer, and it's located in Orion. Orion sits between Taurus and Gemini. But you must not eat the blood. Pour it out on the ground like water. You must not eat it in your own, eat in your own towns the tithe of your grain and new wine and olive oil. Pouring out water on the ground is Aquarius. It's literally a man pouring the water out onto the ground. The grain is Virgo, opposing signs at the firmament. Wine and oil again. With Libra, they're connecting signs. These are the animals you may eat: the ox, the sheep, the goat, the deer, the gazelle, the roe deer, the wild goat, the ibex, the antelope, and the mountain sheep. So the ox is Taurus, the sheep is Aries. Those are connecting signs. The goat is Capricorn. The deer is Mariga, which is between Taurus and Gemini. The wild goat is Capricorn, and the mountain sheep is Aries. Of all the creatures living in the water, you may eat any that has fins and scales. So Pisces, the two fish, that's what they're talking about. Use the silver to buy whatever you like: cattle, sheep, wine, or other fermented drinks, or anything you wish. The cattle is Taurus, the sheep is Aries. Those are connecting signs. The wine and Aries are opposing signs. The wine is Libra, and they're opposing signs to Aries. The fermented drink would be the beer that they're talking about which the barley is in Virgo. So that's when you make the beer. At the end of 7 years, you must cancel debts. This is how it is to be done. So why can't it be done this way now? If everybody is so hell-bent on keeping everything biblical, suddenly all the banks and everybody goes crazy when you show them this passage. You know, at the end of every 7 years, you must cancel debts. It's just, you pick and choose is what they do. They pick and choose what satisfies them. Do not put your firstborn of your cows to work, and do not shear the firstborn of your sheep. Both the ceremonially unclean and the clean may eat it as if it were a gazelle or deer, but you must not eat the blood. Pour it out onto the ground like water. The cow is the female bull or Taurus. The sheep is Aries, connecting signs. Deer is Mariga, between Taurus and Gemini. So far we have Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. So now it's forming a chain in the sky, guys, of connecting signs. The water is Aquarius. Pour it out onto the ground like water. That would be Aquarius. This is the share due the priest from the people who sacrifice a bull or a sheep. You are to give them the first fruits of your grain and olive oil, and the first wool from the shearing of your sheep. The bull is Taurus, the sheep is Aries. Those are connecting signs. The olive oil is Libra, that's Aries' opposing sign. The grain is Virgo. Let no one be found among you who sacrifices their son or daughter in the fire, who practices divination or sorcery, interprets omens, engages in witchcraft, or casts spells, or who is a medium or spiritist, or who consults the dead. Anyone who does these things is detestable to the Lord. So that's where the Catholics get the Catechism 2116. All forms of divination are to be rejected. Recourse to Satan or demons, conjuring up the dead, or other practices falsely supposed to unveil the future. Consulting horoscopes, astrology, palm reading, interpretations of omens and lots, the phenomena of clairvoyance, and recourse to mediums, all conceal a desire for power over time, history, and in the last analysis, other human beings, as well as a wish to conciliate hidden powers. They contradict the honor, respect, and loving fear that we owe to God alone. So not only do they tell you astrology is evil, even though I've given you maybe so far 40 videos to show you that astrology is in the Bible, yet they tell you it's evil. All right. So there is that, you know, I have that going for me. But yeah, that's where it comes from right here. 1810, Deuteronomy 1810. This is where they talk about it. This is where they get it. If you see your fellow Israelites' ox or sheep straying, do not ignore it, but be sure to take it back to its owner. Do the same if you find their donkey or cloak or anything else they have lost. The ox is Taurus, the sheep is Aries. Those are connecting signs. The donkey is a Celis Borealis in Cancer. So the spring equinox is in Aries. The summer solstice is in Cancer. It's another example, 1/2 or 2/4 of the main points of the zodiac. A woman must not wear men's clothing, nor a man wear women's clothing, for the Lord your God detests anyone who does this. So this could be trailed back to where all the transsexual hate comes from in the Bible, Deuteronomy 22:5. I've gone into explain how the homosexual thing was misunderstood. I can't find anything for this, to be honest. To me, this is where it all originates. Is Deuteronomy 22:5. Do not plant two kinds of seeds in your vineyards. If you do, not only the crops you plant, but also the fruit of the vineyard will be defiled. Do not plow with an ox and a donkey yoked together. Do not wear clothes of wool and linen woven together. The vineyard is Libra. The ox is Taurus. The donkey is a Celis Borealis, which is in Cancer. The clothes of the wool are Aries, the sheep. Cancer and Aries. Summer solstice and spring equinox. And also Libra Okay, I didn't even notice this, but Libra is the fall equinox. Okay, so that's 3 of the 4 major points on the zodiac in this one passage. When you are encamped against your enemies, keep away from everything impure. If one of your men is unclean because of a nocturnal emission, he is to go outside the camp and stay there. But as evening approaches, he is to wash himself, and at sunset, he may return to camp. So this goes back to what makes you a dirty, dirty, dirty little boy or a dirty, dirty, dirty little girl. Okay, the idea here is that if you have a ejaculation in the middle of the night while you're sleeping, you are suddenly impure and unclean and have to leave the camp. Okay, when you're encamped against your enemies, you have to leave because you had something that you could not control. Okay, and then at night you have to wash yourself and you may return back to camp. It's just, here we go. You will plant a vineyard, but you will not even begin to enjoy its fruit. Your ox will be slaughtered before your eyes, but you will eat none of it. Your donkey will be forcibly taken from you and will not be returned. Your sheep will be given to your enemies, and no one will rescue them. Your sons and daughters will be given to another nation. So the vineyard is Libra, the ox is Taurus, the donkey is Acellus, Borealis, and Cancer. The sheep is Aries, the sons and daughters are Aquarius, the man, and Virgo, the woman. So Libra and Aries are opposing signs. Aquarius and Virgo are opposing signs of the firmament. The Cancer is the summer solstice. The Aries is the spring equinox. And Libra, again, is the fall equinox. So there's 3 out of the 4 signs again. And finally, at the very end, we're given all 4 major points. So let me read this to you. He made him ride on the heights of the land and fed him with the fruit of the fields. He nourished him with honey from the rock and with oil from the flinty crag, with curds and milk from the herd and flock, and with fattened lambs and goats, with choice rams of Bashan and the finest kernels of wheat. You drank the foaming blood of the grape. That's what I mentioned earlier, the blood of the grape. So the honey is the beehive cluster in Cancer. The oil is olive oil, that's Libra. Milk is the Milky Way galaxy, centers in Sagittarius. Lambs are Aries, and goat is Capricorn. The wheat is Virgo. The blood of the grape wine, Libra. So Cancer is the summer solstice. Oil Libra is the fall equinox. The Milky Way galaxy is the winter solstice, and the Lamb's Aries is the spring equinox. Finally, in Deuteronomy 32:13, we were teased all 4 major points throughout it. And then here towards the very end of Deuteronomy, we get all 4 major points here. And that's all I wanted to share with you guys. That's what I got going on here. I'm going to try and get another video done either this weekend or at the beginning of next week. Thank you for watching. Thank you for this. Please share with other people. Please get them to subscribe. I really appreciate it. Thank you.